I had a few people from work, sort of saying, oh, why are you engaging buyers agents? Surely, you bought and sold houses before. Why are you doing this? I think it comes back to that, I'm a professional in my industry. I know that very, very well. And I think anybody sort of stepping outside of that, trying to do it themselves, sure, maybe they could get there. Maybe they could get part of the way. But having somebody who's trained, who's done this for, 20, 30 years, and really knows what's going on, it gives you that peace of mind. We sort of knew what we were going to, offer or where we were going to be, but it gave us that peace of mind that we knew, this is the right thing. This is, you backed us and sort of allowed us to make that decision. So that was really critical for me.
Today we'd like to welcome two very special guests to our podcast, Done Real Estate. So we have Kristy and Troy joining us today to share their journey of working with us, probably a few years ago now, but a really great journey, lots to share. Kristy is also now part of the Spring Buyers Agency team, which is so exciting, and we can explain in further detail how that came about as we get into it. But we love having you with us. You love the journey so much you decided to become a buyer's agent.
Exactly. Very well said.
So, yes. we can unpack that later on. But, tell us a little bit about your experience. You were already living on the Central Coast when you bought, but how that all came about and what you love about it and why you used a buyer's agent.
Yeah, so I think we'd been living on the coast, I think it was for about 5 years before we decided, it was midst of COVID lockdown, that this area probably isn't for us anymore and we'd like to live closer to the beach. I think a lot of people maybe had that realisation in lockdowns that where they were wasn't where they wanted to be forever.
Yep.
And so we decided after looking at 5 or 6 houses and putting in offers and having no luck.
The market was really firing, wasn't it, at that point? It was hot.
And you'd offer and then, they'd come back and it's gone up 200,000 and we're like, hold on. Is that true? Are we, are they pulling our leg? We don't know.
Yeah, I think previously we'd sort of bought and sold in other markets, but typically it was like, bidding under the price that you would eventually buy it for. We made a few offers and then they were getting rejected and we're like, what's going on here? Like, we weren't too sure. Is it us? Is it, were we just trying to get taken for a ride?
It's important. It's still important, even though we're in a different market now. It's an important point that you raise because the markets are always changing. Yep. So we don't have a one strategy fits all to buy property. We're looking at the entire landscape, stock levels, buyer activity, days on market. All these things are so important. There's an element of
forecasting involved depending on people's timeline. So it is quite a complex analysis that we do have to go through these days.
It's not really just find a property, make an offer.
Yeah, as I'm now learning.
So that led you to, did you know what a buyer's agent was then?
I think I had because I'd always had an interest in real estate. I used to watch the real estate shows on TV.
Oh, the ones where they wear the really high heels and the short skirts.
Yeah.
and they make it look really easy and glamorous.
And so I had heard of a buyer's agency before, and I think it was after one of those Saturdays where we looked at houses. I was just like, I actually can't do this myself anymore. And so I just Googled buyer's agency, Central Coast, and up you came.
Here we were.
Yeah, sent an inquiry off, and I think Linda called the same day.
We sort of chatted about it, and I feel like my feel is like you've got, you need professionals if you're going to do well within certain industries, whether it be an accountant or a lawyer or things like that. And I think the same sort of made sense for us here, right? Like we were at that point where we weren't sure what was going on, whether it was us, whether it was something, just the market itself, or coming to some sort of professional made sense to us.
Well, it was interesting because you were already experienced buyers. You'd bought numerous properties, not just one. So this was sort of your next property, and you'd already bought in the area where you were, on the Central Coast region. So it's very interesting that you still understood your, the parameters you were working within and knew your strengths and probably the challenges and looked for more guidance in those areas because it was very challenging. I remember when we first met, you were so frustrated and also just confused. It was like, who do we believe? What do we believe? What number do we look at? What's the process? Because the process is differing, and it was a very confusing time in the market.
Also, been moving so fast, and
Where did you feel the most important factors were? Did we help you in deciding? You already had your location sort of worked out. You knew where you wanted to go. Was it understanding values, what you could buy for your money? Where did we most help unpack that before we, found the right property?
I think it was understanding values and just giving us the confidence that, yes, this is the price you should be paying for this property. With the market where we said the prices were changing so drastically every minute, that you came in and said, we're comfortable with his price and we think you should go for it if you want to go for it. And I think that's, for me, there was that comfort of, I'm not going to overpay. I'm not being ripped off.
Now that you're in the inner circle, is there anything that's really surprised you guys with what goes on behind the scenes, the level of research, the inside lane we probably get with the selling agents a lot of the time? Has some of that surprised you being on the inside?
Yes, it has, for sure. I think, looking back, our journey was quite a brief journey because of the market we were in, but some clients we're dealing with now, it's a bit different. They're still trying to work out where they want to be. And so I think that side of it, for me, has been, exciting to learn and be part of.
Yeah, I think it's
been
interesting. Like, Kristy's been coming home with all these stories, of what's going on and things like that. But I didn't realize how much you guys liaise with the selling agents, even if there's not like a property you're particularly looking at, but understand what's going on in the market, what's happening there, and also like the off market type sales. I didn't even realize that was particularly a thing until we engaged the buyers agents.
Well, there's two schools of thought. There's those that think that we're essentially, in cahoots with selling agents. Right. And then there's those that literally, they're naive, don't understand the value of that relationship. So, and that would be a totally different lens that you're seeing that at. We don't go out and hang out and go to barbecues and things like that, but we do have very close personal, professional relationships that quite often have expanded 20, 30 years, how long we've been in the industry. So we just have that level of trust. The level of communication is far more transparent, and we kind of cut to the chase and manoeuvre around, is there a deal here or is there not, which only helps both our clients because they're working with their client and trying to help them understand the market and what they should sell for. And likewise, we're on the other side trying to educate and help our buyers and help them understand what they need to pay, and then we bring it all together. So there's none of this cat and mouse and, are you qualified, are you not qualified? Kind of we cut all of that out and get straight to it.
Yeah. It's interesting you sort of said there, like having somebody on your side, and I think that's sort of what we felt is like you're going and talking to the sales agent and clearly like they're trying to operate in the seller's best interest. You're not too sure what they're telling you. Is that true? Is this fact? Is this real in this market? So having somebody on your side is...
And that's a big ask from people. I guess when you were doing your due diligence, what was the key considerations for you? Was it experience? Was it... Because you are essentially trusting someone that you've just met to really have your back. You probably see what goes on, well, you do see what goes on now and you hear the conversations. But when you were new to us, you didn't know that. So that's a lot to ask of somebody.
We were talking about this. Actually, I'm a really kind of very decisive person on whether I like people or not. And when we met, it was via Zoom because obviously we're in lockdown, and we sort of hung up the call and we were like, yep, we're working with them. It was that easy.
Sort of vibe.
Just got a vibe.
That's amazing. Just
a vibe.
Yeah. And so nice.
You are... on the podcast? The same. You are in real life. Same.
Yeah, it's not a show. No, it's not a show. It definitely isn't. So, it's really good feedback because it's been an interesting journey for you going from being a client and buying your home and then being a buyer's agent. So you're studying at the moment. So you're really getting a sense of what goes on. And I guess one of the things that buyers often don't understand is how to negotiate, and you're seeing firsthand what goes into that process. We're suggesting that you listen to as much of what we do as possible because I know that's how I learned. I tagged and followed someone who was very good at what he did and I learn a lot. So you put your own spin on it at the end of the day and how you want to sound authentic. But has that surprised you what goes into a negotiation? It's
Definitely.
a lot more complicated.
I think I was very naive when I first started to come and work with you. I'm like, this is going to be fun. And it is.
Yeah.
There is a lot more involved in the behind the scenes than what a client does see. 100%.
Yeah. And I think it's great because, we do, I guess, promote our experience a lot because it's very important. You're dealing with people's largest investments they'll ever make and some of the most important decisions they'll ever make. And so experience is critical, but I think that's great for you. Well, you're already living on the coast. You've been a buyer multiple times, not just once, not just your first home, but many properties, investment and somewhere to live. So you understand the dynamic of both. But then you're also learning on the job with us in the background, because it's not just what you're learning in a textbook, would you say? Do you learn more on the job than in the textbook?
I definitely learn more on the job than in the textbook. I get to listen in on, privy to phone calls. I get to go out and look at houses with both of you, see how you speak to agents when you're trying to negotiate buying a property, see how you deal with clients and difficult questions.
Do you think you understood the relationships we do have with the agents, or are they stronger and more trusted than what you would have thought?
I think they're stronger and more trusted than I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And it's a very huge group of agents that you have those relationships with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not one agent.
It's not one agent. We're dealing with lots of agents every single day.
And because we operate in such a huge footprint, we cover Central Coast, Lake Macquarie, Hunter, Newcastle sort of region, and that's purely the migration of our clients. So through our journey with our company, we were primarily Central Coast, but because of the nature of, the market and affordability and lifestyle, people are pushing further north. But we've grown up in this region and, been in all of these. My parents were in business, so we have a lot of background knowledge and we've transacted property in these areas. So it really does help us understand those markets. So to do that, though, we also have to form these relationships with the agents because they're critical to the process.
They are critical. A lot of people struggle with the fee. Why do I need to pay a buyer's agent to do what I could do? What's your thoughts on that? Where do you think the benefits were? Obviously, the market was moving very quickly. Time is a factor. When you look at the fee and what transpired, what would you say to those people that say, oh, I can do it myself, I don't need to pay someone to do that?
I had a few people from work, sort of saying, why are you engaging buyer's agents? Surely, you bought and sold houses before. Why are you doing this? I think it comes back to that, I'm a professional in my industry. I know that very, very well. And I think anybody sort of stepping outside of that, trying to do it themselves, sure, maybe they could get there. Maybe they could get part of the way. But having somebody who's trained, who's done this for 20, 30 years, and really knows what's going on, it gives you that peace of mind. And we sort of said of it as like, we sort of knew what we were going to offer or where we were going to be, but it gave us that peace of mind that we knew, this is the right thing. This is you backed us and sort of allowed us to make that decision. So that was really critical for me. Paying your professionals well.
What do you see, and this is probably more a question for you, Kristy, now that you're sort of operating in the realms of a buyer's agent, where do you see the greatest challenges for buyers at the moment, particularly moving from Sydney? What are their biggest challenges and where could they most benefit from a service like ours?
Sure, I think it's understanding the area, to be honest, the location, where they want to be, what's important to you, what are your priorities, and understanding, I think, price guides as well. Price guides can be really confusing, very confusing.
How does someone who's not in the market every day work those out?
And I think time as well. Do you want to be driving up the freeway every weekend looking at houses? I could think of better things I'd want to do. Why not engage a professional who knows exactly what they're doing and has the time?
I think, especially in that market, the listed price would typically be maybe 100,000 lower than what what would actually go for. So I can imagine, especially someone coming up from Sydney, they're seeing that price going, maybe that's the top of my budget. I'll go up the weekend and go look at it. And that could be wasted time because it's they're going to eventually miss out on it anyway. So that would be, I think that'd be frustrating.
Do you have a memorable moment from our journey that stands out? Because we've had lots of laughs along the way, that's for sure.
We have, but I actually think it was the one we actually, settlement day. Because that's actually the first time we met in person.
Yes,
because
that's
it was
right. It was
It was a weird time, wasn't it? Very strange.
But I think actually just walking into that house and being like, wow, this is ours, and you made that happen. Yeah. I think that was, for me, the best part of our journey. But also I do remember sort of the day we were making the offer and we were on the phone to you, Linda, and I'm not comfortable with this price. You're like, I am, but you can walk away if you want. But can you imagine someone else walking through that door and that being their house? And I'm like, no, make the offer. This has to be our house.
And in those times, clients were having to make decisions really
So quickly, yeah.
which at the moment in the market we're in, we're obviously in a bit of a low stock market. There's still plenty of buyer activity, but it's not the urgency around it that it was then.
Well, if you were looking at a property on Saturday or any day of the week, really, within 24 hours, there were offers and
You're being asked to make a decision.
So buyers didn't have the luxury of having multiple inspections. It was like you had to go make that one inspection count and take really good note and make a decision. So, it really forced fast decision making and it was, and that's why you had to sort of confront those questions, because if you blinked, it would be sold to the next person.
I think it was another funny, interesting moment about the journey. I remember our first briefing session and all the things we told you that we wanted, and then this property wasn't necessarily what met those brief. I think it was quite funny. I was done with mowing the grass. I wanted a small backyard and I wanted a big double garage. And but when you're thinking the property came to us, it was
perfect.
It's interesting, isn't it, how so many clients end up with something that they didn't necessarily set out to find. They probably always wanted, but just needed to understand what it was that they wanted.
Exactly.
Despite the speed of the market, did you find the process really helped you nut out what you would compromise on and what you wouldn't? It sort of highlighted what was more important?
Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things you guys did was you went through the house, and particularly because it was in COVID, you did all the videos and to sort of every part of the house. And maybe it's my crazy brain, but I like to think, where are things going to fit? How's it going to work? How's it going to work with our life or our furniture or all that sort of stuff? And that really helped me going back through it, looking at, that's going to fit there. And sort of imagining myself within the property or ourselves within the property, excuse me. But
And those videos are very real. They're not marketing videos. So when we do the walkthrough video that you're talking about, we just had a client that settled on a home this week, and she said, honestly, I've watched your video that many times. If it was on YouTube, you would be going viral. She's watched it that many times. But even to going back and seeing, does that window have a fly screen? And she said, I've literally watched it hundreds of times. But it's real life. It's not edited. It's not photoshopped. This is
we've had a few surprises in our videos along the way.
The dog over the fence.
Yeah, I was videoing up a side path, and as I was going around the corner, I had these two paws and this huge face and a growl, and then it wiggled itself. But there was a profanity in the video, and but it was actually quite funny. And the clients we were working with at the time, they appreciated it. I didn't tell them before they watched the video, but first they were startled by it as well because it just popped up in the video, and then they said it was hilarious listening to your reaction. They're like, "This is real life, folks."
So it was some time after you guys bought your new home that Kristy, we received an email from you, which was very lovely. But what made you want to do this? Was it the experience? You've always had a love of real estate, but then you experienced it what made you want to be a buyer's agent? And then secondly, what are some of the things that you've seen now you've been with our team about 6 months, 7 months now?
7 months now.
You're doing your licence, obviously, and doing your study. Is there anything that's maybe surprised you or shocked you at what goes on behind the scenes? I'd love to hear. And, of course, from Troy, he's your support at home. He gets the full rundown every evening. So we'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, it actually took me, I think it was about 2 years to actually pluck up the courage to send that email. I had it drafted, I think, 5 or 6 different times, and it just never felt it was the right time to send it. I think I woke up one morning and went, stuff it. I'm going to send the email. And it turned out to be
the right perfect timing.
Divine timing.
It was.
I was just like, reach out for crying out loud.
You've been talking about it for 2 years.
I sick of hearing it. Well, it's the one you didn't send it.
It just never felt right until that morning, and I thought, I'm going to send it now.
And it probably wouldn't have been right either for us, timing-wise. So it was how it was meant to be.
For sure. And look, I had always had a love of real estate, and I think I wanted to give people the experience that I had with you. That experience of you found us a home that I never thought was possible for us within our budget. And you didn't push us, but you gave us that confidence that, yes, this is for you. We can see it And I just wanted to be able to give that to other people, to be honest. What a great job.
Yeah.
To be able to help people find their dream home or their next investment property.
Yeah. So you had that lovely idea.
Yes.
But now, back to one of the questions Michelle asked, now that you're on the inside, what I guess have been some of the things that surprised you that may not be so lovely skip through the daisy fields?
I think, buyer's briefs sometimes can be very difficult. That really surprised me because I thought our brief was very concise. We kind of knew what we wanted, where we wanted to be. So I found that shocking, probably because I was living on the Central Coast, so I already knew the area. So that has really surprised me, to be honest. Sometimes how people don't know what they want.
Yep.
Yeah, and the journey that you actually have to take them on.
And
The amount of
potentially maybe
properties-
unrealistic.
Yes, can be unrealistic, but the amount of properties that you will actually vet for clients as well. I see those reports you send every week. I know your schedules. I know how many houses that I come out with you sometimes as well.
Yep.
I know how many properties you're looking at for clients and how many are marked as unsuitable because they're not that A-grade property, or you just don't get that feel that they're just not right. They don't meet any part of the brief, or they meet one but not all of them. So I think that surprised me as well, the amount of work you put into your client.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on, and obviously we do send those reports to our clients. It's important that they understand what we're looking at, but we don't put every property we vet on there. We put the ones that maybe potentially meet the brief, but there's so many others that we just pass by for whatever reason. We're drilling down on floor plans, on aspects, on slope, on street, on suburb, there's so much goes into eliminating or including a property on a list. And that's what we do every day. One of the things that we've talked about that I'd love to get your take on and buyers struggle with is price guides, because A, they're hard to understand, but also what do you share? How much of your budget do you share? How have you found those, being on the inside and hearing that? How have you found that experience with a buyers struggle with?
Yeah, and I can see why buyer struggles. I know it's a part of it, buying property that we have struggled with before, but I think the benefit of having you, and you're able to have those discussions on behalf of the client. They don't have to share any information when they go look at a house, because it's ring Michelle or Linda. They'll talk to you about what my budget is, and that's all sort of confidential. And I think you share what you want to share with the selling agent, and you know that it's kind of this dance of where that information will go.
It's interesting that we don't really get bogged down in it, do we? You've probably heard our conversations, and oftentimes the selling agents don't even ask the budget of the client. If we're there looking at the property, they know we're in the realms. So they don't even care. Seriously, they're not really drilling down on it. And because they don't know who our client is, there's a separation there. So you're not feeling like you're having to give everything or act really interested or not and then miss it. So you don't have to do the dance.
And also too, quite often they reach out to us straight away and say, hey, I've got a bit of action on this property. No pressure, but I just need to know if you're in or you're out, because I'm probably going to put this together, in the next 24, 48 hours. And so we have the benefit of that, where they're not necessarily going to ring, depending on the amount of groups through and how much they've qualified all of those people. They're not going to necessarily ring around every single person. I note mostly they send out text messages now to try and get call to action.
I think we were sort of chatting earlier, and when we were going through our journey before we engaged you, it was like how to handle the agents. And I think I was saying I acted a bit blasé, trying to get them to try to chase me, and that wasn't the effectiveness, particularly in that market. But I think I also added a bit desperation. Like there was one place that we thought we really liked, and then we started offering, and then I went in with offers over what they said it was currently going for, but it had been sold at that point, and it was futile for me. So it's that really, I think, is a big part of the assistance.
Can we talk about emotion? People say take the emotion out of the negotiation. If you're buying your home, you can't.
No.
Can you? And we say that to our clients. We could tell you, sit here and say, take the emotion out of it. You can't. You're going to live there, you're going to raise your family there.
We say the opposite to our clients. You be as emotional as you like to be. We're not, so you take it all.
Have you found that to be interesting, watching us obviously buy property? That is completely removed from the equation.
Yes, definitely. And I think because I've been in the client's shoes, I can maybe see it from kind of both sides now. I know when we were buying our property, and we were buying pre-auction, and so we were like, we've just got to get this deal to happen, and it was so nerve-wracking and there were so many emotions involved that you took all of that on board, my emotions, and just took it in, and then you just made the negotiations not emotional, I guess.
Because I guess it makes people pay more money. If you think you're going to miss it, what is the...
Yes.
So we take that out so we know when to hold, when to not hold, all those sorts of things. Because if you love something and you're about to miss it, you're going to pay more money.
Yeah, and I think those questions came up a lot. Should we go in now? Should we, and at the time I was like, no, we just need to wait, hang tight. We need to go through the process, and timing is everything in making an offer and showing our hand. So we just need to wait until the right opportunity, and then once we're 100% sure we can buy this before auction, then we can go in, but we can't sort of rush the process. Sometimes it can happen in a few hours, sometimes it can take, days.
And now sitting on the other side, where I'm privy to those phone calls with agents and clients, it is this little dance with the agent being like, okay, we're here, you're here, we want to make a deal happen. How are we going to do this?
It is a collaboration, isn't it? A lot of people think that there's argy-bargy. There's not. Our negotiations are always so respectful. We are doing the best we can for our client, and so is the selling agent.
Yes. Yep.
And as it should be. We're not after the cheapest property in the world. Often cheap is not great.
And we're also not trying to buy something that's actually worth what the price is. We set our clients up for success. Our job is not to go in and buy something $250,000 less when it's actually worth the price that it's going to be sold at.
Because good property will always sell.
Command a price.
For a good price. It will. So we're obviously there to get the best deal we can for our clients. But as for this, we're buying it under market, sometimes we do. Sometimes the situation might call for a quick sale, and by all means we have. But generally, if the market's kicking along pretty well and it's an A-grade property, you're going to have competition. The market's going to determine the price. We just need to make sure that we're right there. We're not paying overs. Our buyers do not pay over than they need to.
You said something interesting offline earlier, that one of the things that you found interesting was some people's expectation is that we are fairy godmothers.
Yes, I have. Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes people think, I'm going to engage a buyer's agent. They can a steal of a deal, or they can pull a rabbit out of a hat. Something that's not there, they can make
a needle in a haystack.
Exactly.
A rabbit out of a hat.
Yes, and that is not the case. You always make sure your clients get the best deal possible, but you're not going to buy something for a steal of a deal all of the time.
No,
for sure.
Not unless no one else wants it. And
exactly.
When no one else wants it, when it comes time for you to sell it, no one else is going to want it.
Exactly.
So we don't want those type of properties.
So I think I found that very quite shocking. I'd never. I don't know, maybe because I didn't think that way when we engaged you as clients. But I found that, that's a really interesting part of your job, having those difficult
It's a lot more complex than one would assume, isn't it? There's a lot to learn.
I get to go house shopping for other people. How exciting. But there's a lot more involved.
Oh, well, something else you said, some of the conversations we have, you were quite shocked. And obviously we're never ever confrontational, but sometimes we have to have difficult or robust conversations, because our job's to be realistic and set our clients up for success, not lead them down a garden path that's, everyone's going to end up frustrated and a whole lot of time wasted, and then ultimately not going to achieve their goal. So, do you think they happen more often than what you thought?
Yes. They definitely do happen. And you are correct that you're not, it is a robust conversation. It's never, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't afford that, you can't afford this. It is taking people on, as we call it, the journey of they need to realise what is actually within their means. And sometimes you do have to have that robust conversation, which I think might take me a little while to get used to.
It's definitely a skill, but we're there to solve problems. We are problem solvers. So we need to recognise and understand the pain points of that buyer very quickly, and we need to solve those. And if those are that they're unrealistic in price, or they haven't figured out what area they want to buy in, or they don't know what the type of property is for them, they don't know how to negotiate, they don't have time. It may be a combination of all of those pain points, but oftentimes there's particular pain points that they might have experienced, and we're there to solve the problem. That is our job. So we love what we do. But you nailed it before. That joy of walking in your home and going, wow, this is ours. We feel it for our clients.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognise when we find the one.
It's not just a transaction.
No, we often walk through a property and we know this is the one. We look at each other and go, got the feels. I think this could be it. And generally it is. When we get that feeling between the two of us, it more often than not is, or it's so close, the next one, we nail it. So we very much have that feeling. That's about the only emotion we show through the process.
And that feeling is what keeps us doing this 30 years for you and 20 years for me. It's that feeling of solving the problem, and a family or an investor or whoever it might be buying a property, gets the dream. That we love it. Something else you said before offline was about separating your own personal preferences.
Yes.
Talk us through that a little bit more, because that's an interesting one.
It is, and it's conversations I know I've had with both of you, is I was finding it difficult on how I would set aside my opinions, preferences on an area from one area to another that I really love, and how would I show clients where they could get the best value if I particularly didn't like a suburb. So that's a lot. I think that's a big point for me to learn.
Or a house.
Particularly
It might be a great house, but it's not your cup of tea.
Yes.
Well, whilst it's not your cup of tea, so this is the separation, right? So whilst, it wouldn't be your lifestyle choice or your home choice, the thing is, if you had to make the choice, would you live there? And we ask ourselves that all the time. So if we're looking at a property, our personal preferences aside, if this was it, would we invest our money here and would we live here? And if the answer is no, we move on straight away. And so we wouldn't set our clients up to purchase anything that we wouldn't buy ourselves.
If it's not a good investment, because I don't care if it's your home or an investment property, it needs to be a robust investment. It needs to be a good area, good capital growth, no matter what it's for. You want to know that in 10 years' time or however many years' time you've made money. So if it's not that, then no.
We've even helped, clients after the fact. And I guess this goes into something else which you can talk about in a moment, your concierge service. But, helping clients, they ask us about improvements and things after they purchase. And, we quite often lead them in the right direction, because whilst it's their home, they live in it, they want to build it or renovate it fit for purpose, you've still got to think, when I go to sell this, is this going to appeal to people? Because you don't want it to hold the property back. And we go through properties all the time where they've done something and it holds the property back, because the majority of people are either they just walk away because they're like, oh, I don't want that, or they factor in the cost, and quite often it's significant to rectify or change it. So, we're often offering that sort of advice as well. Or selling agents get us through sometimes, and they're like, I can't work out, I'm not getting any feedback. What is not selling this house? I need to understand from your eyes. Can you help us understand? And so quite often we can walk through and say, well, it's a back to front house. So many families, it's going to knock all your families out because there's no indoor-outdoor flow. So the bedrooms are at the back of the house where the backyard is and the pool, and you got to take a packed lunch from the front of the house, out the side and up the back. And so it's families are just not going to be interested.
It's an upside-down house.
Yeah, correct.
We have all names for all these houses. Upside down, back to front, loop the loop.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, two of the bedrooms are so tiny. So anyone, great if you got one child, but if you got multiple children, there's sleeping in a study. So, there's all those sorts of things. But back to the concierge, we sort of have all worked together based on your experience as well, offering additional service. So our process and our service doesn't end at settlement.
No, it doesn't. So part of our concierge service is offering help with connecting services to your new property, also offering any time you need to reach out in the WhatsApp chat and ask, what day are bins collected? We'll send you through the calendar from the council, or I'm looking for a trade for air conditioning or flooring, or
we have comprehensive trades list, don't we?
That we can recommend to you. So that's part of the concierge service that we have.
When we do the introduction, we don't, of
Yes.
course, get any benefit from it. It's purely supporting other local businesses in the area, which we're very passionate about. But it's connecting like-minded people, trades and services and products that we know, we trust.
We use ourselves.
Correct. Yep.
One of the other questions I had for you guys was how important is creating what we call the A-team? So now that you've been working in the area, how important is that? Because you see conveyancers and pest and building inspectors and all that kind of stuff. Talk us through that.
It's imperative.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that.
Forget
Mortgage
those
brokers.
things. Having those trusted professionals who we work with every single day, going back looking at my experience with other professionals I used when we were buying and selling, I wish I had your A-team, to be honest, because they are there, they're available to you 24 hours a day, they go above and beyond. I mean, they do that for every client, but...
There's certain relationships where they will pick up the phone. And not that we are calling people out of hours, but real estate is real estate. It doesn't always happen during the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And, there's sometimes we have a question that we might need to ask a conveyancer or a building inspector or a mortgage broker, and we can. I mean, there's a mortgage broker that we've recommended in the past, and she has literally stayed up all night one night. Remember that client?
She did, yeah.
It was during COVID, and they were having trouble with their mortgage broker and getting their finance across the line, but they weren't getting another extension. They were going to lose the property. But they were happy with their mortgage broker. We recommended Melissa, and she literally stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning getting that done to save that property. Now, that's dedication. She's amazing and has worked with many of our clients.
I was going to say that there's a huge time saving there for the client as well, like not having to do all that liaising, do all that linking up and all that sort of stuff. I know for me, as a factor, I was pretty busy with work through COVID, so not having to worry about a lot of that, and knew that you guys had that.
Because sometimes you don't really know. You can jump online and, you're not sure. Whereas the professionals that we work with, we've worked with for many, many years, and we trust them. We use them ourselves, recommend them to clients. The A-team's very important. So when we talk about the A-team, it's obviously a conveyancer or solicitor, a pest and building inspector, a mortgage broker, and a buyer's agent. If you've got those 4 nailed, you're going to...
So I guess what advice would you give to buyers out in the marketplace now based on your experience?
I mean, I'm probably a little bit biased, but I'd say ring Linda and Michelle from Spring Buyers Agency.
Or Siri, when your license brings me.
I just think it was the best thing that we did in terms of buying a property. It got us a property that I never thought was possible in a market that was crazy. And I feel like we plan to live there forever. We've decided that it is our forever home.
Well, you've already started renovating.
We have. But my advice would be just reach out, have a chat.
It takes a lot of the stress out of a very stressful thing. I think particularly when you're a couple and, we don't know what we don't know, and then we're sort of arguing about it, and, not necessarily arguing about it, like I think we're okay, but it's, you might have disagreements, maybe we should do this or we should go this way. Having somebody there who knows the market, knows how houses are bought and sold on a professional level, it really takes some of the stress away.
We are counsellors some of the time. Most couples are not on the same page. Some are very upfront about it, and some we realise a few weeks in. But it all pans out in the end.
Some of our questions create conversations like, wow, okay, wasn't going down that track, but now we're here, let's deal with it.
But, again, experience. We've got families, we've bought homes, we've been in exactly the same position. No two people are going to...
No.
It's about compromise, and buying a home is about compromise. Whilst we try and tick every single box on the dream list, there's always going to be a compromise somewhere. It's just about making the right ones. No matter how many millions you have...
There's always a compromise. Yeah. No house is ever perfect. Even when people build, there's always an element that's been forgotten, missed, not quite right. Maybe it sounded great in theory, but in practice it's not.
Didn't work on the block.
Yep.
It's just, there's always a compromise. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. You've shared not only your own journey of buying a property, but your journey with us. We're 6-7 months in, and we can't wait to see you become a wonderful buyer's agent. you're here to learn and help us along the way, and we're super excited. You're going to make a fantastic buyer's agent.
Thank you.
Yeah, we look forward to what the future holds.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Troy, for being the support in the background.
We don't always see you, but we know you're there.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Unreal Estate. If there is someone you think could benefit from the information that we've shared today, please feel free to share this episode or leave us a comment. We'd love to hear your feedback. We release a new episode every 2 weeks, so stay up to date, hit follow or subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.